Welcome to section 2.1 of the foreclosure prevention class. This is triage. And I think we're going to have some fun today because triage is actually one of my favorite subjects to teach. What does triage do, you say? Well, it helps your organization determine the client's objectives and needs and any time constraints prior to the counseling session. So your intake person or your counselor, whoever is doing the triage, will be able to ascertain this information prior to sitting down and counseling them. It also allows the counselor to schedule their time wisely, which, as we know, is very important. Thirdly, it gives the client time to gather all the necessary documentation and information beforehand. And of course, we know they always bring everything we ask them for, right? The next thing, triage can be conducted in several ways. So you can do triage over the phone, or you can do triage in person. This can be at your office, at a foreclosure outreach event, at a library where you have a private space, anywhere, really, as long as there's some privacy. That's the big thing. It can be done separately, so you can do your triage one-on-one, or you can do it in a group session. Like I said, it can be done at a foreclosure outreach event, or some agencies do their initial triage as a foreclosure information session, and so that's done in a group. Your triage can be done verbally, so if you have an intake person who's taking this information over the phone, that's verbally. Or if you have an intake form on your website and they fill that out and fax it to you or email it to you, then that's in writing. So there's several ways we can conduct triage. Now, if you will go to your books, in the reading section, page 4, under section 2.1, you will see a triage decision-making chart there. And I'll go over it very quickly because I know you probably don't have it in front of you. Ideally, you want to pull that up prior to starting the session, but no big deal. You can always review this later. But it kind of gives you a basic idea, especially if you're just starting out doing foreclosure counseling, or you've got a triage person or an intake person who's brand new. This will help them kind of get into the swing of things. So it'll start with, does the client want to stay home? You know, that's very important because oftentimes as counselors we get going on how we can help them. Maybe they don't even want to stay in the house. So that's the first question. Does the client want to stay in the home? If the answer is yes, and you go on to one level. If it's not, then you continue on to section 6. And it just kind of goes all the way through like that. And you will see on the page prior to the triage chart are all the triage levels, which range from 1 to 6, from just information and referrals to get an appointment immediately, an appointment soon, appointment default, appointment current, and then 6 being transition information. So again, if they don't want to stay in the home, then they're probably going to transition. So definitely review that chart and the triage levels on page 3. So one thing I want you to think about when you're triaging is how do you prioritize your clients? Like I said on page 3, there are those triage levels which I just went over. What's a priority in your agency? And it may be different from state to state, so that's why I want you to just think about that and write down what your priorities are. If you're a new intake person or counselor and you're not quite sure what the priorities are for your agency, then go ask your manager. Make sure that you know, okay, if a client calls in and they've got a bankruptcy, is that a priority for us? Do we refer them out to someone? Do I need to schedule them this week, or is that someone that can wait? You need to know the answer to that so you can be an effective triage person. Some other questions you want to ask. Do you want to keep your house? Do you have a sale date? How late are you on your mortgage? And again, all these questions should be in a questionnaire that your intake or triage person has at their desk and that they're asking the clients. Have you spoken with a lender or with another counseling agency? Why do you think that's important? Because maybe they've already gone through this process and they're just trying to pull one over on you, so you don't know. But you want to find out, Also, it could be any number of reasons. So it's good to know if they've gone to another counseling agency, so you can just have a heads up. But that should be a red flag, so you want to make sure you ask that question. What is your hardship? What is your income? Bring all necessary documents. Absolutely. Your intake or triage person definitely wants to go over all the required documents with your homeowner on the phone prior to coming in. And then, of course, whatever process you have established at your agency, that's what they should follow. All right. Thank you for listening to Section 2.1. We are done.